All right, if you're following along with this channel, you know that is a custom DIY camper build. And it's a wedge top camper. And there's really two pieces to this build. There's the camper part, the wedge top part right here. And again, it hinges at that point right there and it lifts up. And this wedge part is attached to the cap, which is sitting on the bed of the truck. And I built this so that I could remove this wedge top and replace it with kind of a slimline top. It'll only be about as thick as this thing right here, and we'll just remove these and then put the slimline top on there. You know, and the nice thing about replacing that is it has a few advantages. You can imagine right now the additional air resistance, even though I have kind of this duct tape air jam kind of pushing air up over the top. There's additional air resistance and additional weight that I just don't need to carry all the time. And then it limits the height of the garages that I can get into. So I'm about to go on a trip here soon where I won't be needing the camper, but I want to use the whole backside. And so the cab, and I want all the storage in the back to still remain. So just real quick, if you've not seen it, inside the cab, you'll have all the storage where, you know, I can have So if you haven't seen it, then inside the cab, I have all the storage. So I have a compartment for the battery box, which is a build on itself. And then there's a secure box here where you can't really get to it unless you can drop the tailgate, and you can't drop the tailgate unless you unlock the truck. Excess water, some totes fit nicely up on top there. A couple of buckets here just for multi-purposes. One can be a camp toilet if I need to, just storage, extra gas, fridge. Anyway, I want to be able to use this whole back side, but I want to get rid of that big top part. So first thing was going to build the top, so that's what we're going to do next. All right, so we're down. All right, so we're in the shop now. Let's start looking at what we need to do here. So when I originally purchased all the components for this, I bought what I thought I would need. So I got these 80/20 rails already. I have the aluminum panel right there. That's the sandwich of aluminum, polyethylene aluminum. My brand is called a Megabond. So that'll fit over here. And then for the corners, I have these corner gussets. I do have 2 corner gussets right now. So it looks like I'm too short, or I've misplaced 2 of them. So anyways, I'm gonna order 2 of these, but I'll go as far as I can without having these 2 around, but I'll get 2 of them in. And then I need a bunch of these bolts for attaching the top to the 80/20 rails using these kind of T-nuts. So that's what I've got. I'm gonna look, I probably have a bunch of washers and probably some silicone to kind of seal all of this up again. So that's the components, and I'm going to get started right now by tapping the ends of all of these. It takes a little bit of time. I didn't buy them tapped, so I'm just going to pull out a chair and sit someplace and do all the tapping of all of the 4 corners. All right, so to tap these corners, I'm going to use just a manual tap here. I'm going to do this manually. I've seen people run these in using their screwdrivers, but I just feel like I need to have more control. I don't want to strip out the ends of these. These are, you know, they're hard to get. So I'm just going to do them all manually. It takes a bit longer, but it's not really that big of a deal. So you don't know, the 80/20 rail has this little piece right here, which this tap will fit into. You'll be able to tap that point right there, and you'll be able to put a screw in there. So that's what we're going to do next. All right, so tapping it technically isn't super hard. It just takes a little bit of time. So start the tap, once you get it going, you just keep it going on itself, and it'll work its way in. This aluminum is pretty soft, so I don't think you need any kind of lubricants or any oils or anything. You can correct me if you're wrong on that, but so far I've done a lot of these and I have not had any issues. I guess a lot meaning the ones I've done previously. Pull this tap back out and we'll repeat this on the other side. Alright, so this side's done, and I don't know if you can see, but got the threads in there now. So I grab one of these bolts, that will hold on the corner gusset. You know, this will thread into there, just like that. All right, so next thing is just for me to do the other ends of all of these. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more of these to do. All right, so I didn't film the rest of them, but this is the last hole that we have to do. So we'll get this one done. And you can get going pretty easily on this once you get a good rhythm. Sit down in a chair, get comfortable. It's a good wrist workout. You can also pay whoever you're getting your aluminum extrusion from to do this operation for you. But the price that I saw online it seemed a little excessive for the operation itself, so I just opted to do it myself. Alright, so the next thing is to put these corner gussets in. Once you get it tapped, this is actually pretty easy to do. So I'm going to do that corner, we'll do this corner right here, so you can kind of see it, and then the other corners are exactly the same. And for now, I'm not going to put lock washers on them for now, because I don't actually have any right now, but I'm going to go to the hardware store and get lock washers so I can put lock washers on this hardware. But my goal is to find maybe everything locally here. The corner gussets, I'm not so sure I'm going to find locally, so I'm probably going to have to do an order for 2 corner gussets. So these just screw in. And again, normally I would put lock washers on there, but that's what they look like right there. So just like that, get your Allen wrench in there, tighten them down. So I have one more corner gusset. I'm going to go ahead and just put it on over, let's say that back corner over there. And then I won't be able to do the other 2 corners until I get the other corner gusset. So along with, the bolts that I got from McMaster Car, I had these T-slots already. I needed 2 of these. These are from 8020. Let's see if I can get this off without cutting myself here. So these are those corner gussets that strengthen up the frame and allow you to connect to the sides together. So there's one, and they wrapped these up really well, didn't they? And there's the second one. So these little corner gussets just add some strength. So I want to put those on. And the other thing I got from my local hardware store is a bunch of lock washers that are the same size as, this 5/16, and then a bunch of flat washers too that we can use when we put the top on. All right, so the next step, so we're going to put those corner gussets on. I already got two of the corner gussets here, this corner and that corner completed. This is going to be the back side, so it's going to be this side here, and you can see the back side has the corner gussets on the outside like that. But if you come look at the front ends and they go straight across. So I'm going to use those corner gussets, but I'm going to put them on the inside of the front because this piece is the same size as that piece right there. So that's what we're going to do next. And just so everyone's set on the dimensions here, from edge to edge, this piece right here, not including the angle iron, that piece is 4 foot 9 inches, and that's the same length as this side right here. And then this is a 6 foot piece, and that's the same length as this piece here that goes from this corner all the way down to that corner. So let's assemble these angle irons like we need them. As I already talked about, the ones here are kind of on the outside and making kind of this length longer and pushing this piece out. The ones on this end, we're going to put on the inside. So see if I can get you a spot. Because these corner gussets aren't going into the ends of the 80/20, I'm not going to be able to use those holes that we just tapped. So I put on these T-nuts onto the ends, and then we'll put those in place over there, and we'll do this other corner here. So T-nuts are pretty easy, especially if you pre-assemble. You just kind of slide them into the holes. So there's one, and then there's the other one. So once you get them into place, I'm going to go ahead and put this one in because once I lock down this corner, it might be too rigid for me to move around and you get the T-nuts all in. So we're going to go ahead and take care of that right now. A little bit of a struggle bus on this side, but all right, finally got it. So anyways, both these are now on. I'm going to flush this up on this end, tighten this down. While I'm getting this in, if you've ever worked with 80/20 before, it's a really good material to work with. It's a little heavy sometimes compared to maybe some other material, but structurally, when you lock these things down with the proper connectors and things, you can't beat it. It's really solid. And the ease of use, it goes together like an erector set. I don't know if you had those when you were a kid, but one tip for these T-nuts, once you get them into that frame, they're all locked up, and you're trying to do the connections, if they don't work, and I've run into a few where they don't thread very well, then it's a real pain to have to pull the whole thing apart, especially if you got the top halfway fastened on. So it's good to know, just take the time, run it through. Let's make sure that all these threads are good. All right, so now you can see that I've put the T-nuts kind of preloaded in the slot here. On this side, I'm going to use 7. That's the long side. I'll put 7 over there, and on this side, we counted 6. So I'll put 6 in here. So to load them up, I have to obviously get access to this slot. So I just need to take off this bolt, and then I can stick them in there. So that's what we're going to do on this side. It's easier to take off these corner gussets than the ones that are set on the inside, just because this bolt's a little more accessible. So there's that. These things have a don't know if you can see, but it has kind of a inset, and then it's kind of a little nipple on this side. I think the nipple side goes down, so I'm putting them all down. That's what I did the last time. That worked out really well. So I'm going to do that. Let's load them up. Kind of like loading up your Pez dispenser when you're a kid. And once you got them in, you just run that bolt back through this corner, tighten it back down. So I'll have 2 of the sides done. Fortunately, to get to the other 2, I'm going to have to mess with one of the corner gussets with the inside there. But I'll do that off camera. I'll load up those 2 sides with their T-nuts, and then we'll be set to go. All right, so with the help of my son, we got the aluminum composite panel, and that thing is up here now. So width-wise, this panel, just to orient everybody, is 5 foot. And if you remember, my inner dimension, or we'll use this, so this thing was 4 foot 9 inches across without the wedges. But each of these is 1.5 inches. So this end is 1.5 inches, and that's 1.5. So that 9 plus that 3 equals out to be 5 foot. So this is exactly the same width as this frame. It's not cut to length yet, so I'll have to cut the length, and that's probably what we'll do next. I'll try to get you in a position so we can mark this. Lengthwise, we are looking at 6 foot, right? So this piece is 6 foot, so it's 6 foot plus the 1.5 inches. So that's 6 foot 1.5 inches. And I'm gonna make some marks on this. I'm gonna put this up so it's not sagging. Make some marks, and then we'll be able to cut it. So that's the plan right now. 6 foot 1.5 inches. Okay, so 6 foot 1.5 inches. It's going to be about right here. Mark this in a couple of areas. 6 foot 1.5 inches right there. So I bought this material a while back, before COVID even hit, and so I'm not even sure what the cost of this is anymore. But if I recall, when I bought it, it wasn't that bad. I think it was like $100 a sheet or something. 6 foot 1.5 inches. And so I had gotten enough material at that time, to do this whole project. And I never got around to doing this part of it. But I have a trip coming up, and I would like to be able to park in a parking garage. So that's the goal. So striking a line here. Okay, so there's our cut line. Let's get this set up so I can do this cut, and then we'll do that together. All right, take 2 on this thing. I couldn't figure out that jigsaw. Something wrong with the chuck. This is a little bit overkill for this cut, but this will do. So just use my circular saw. I've got it raised up or I got the saw, I guess, set so the depth is just kind of barely what I needed, and we'll run this cut through. like I said, a little bit overkill for that cut, but gotta work with what you got. Right now my jigsaw isn't working, so. This will be the only cut I think I need though. Let's put that over there for now. You can see a lot of the black stuff is kind of essentially the plastic, that polyester or whatever's in the sandwich, and you can kind of see some sparkly shiny bits, which are the aluminum bits. So this is a piece of scrap. Obviously I'm not going to throw it away, because if I ever damage a side panel or anything like that, hopefully this is a piece that I can use to kind of create or fix that. Always a good feeling after a cut, and it actually fits the sides that you need and everything. Let me still come through with a file and just kind of trim it up a little bit. It's maybe a little bit long, but it's to dimension, so I'm not going to fret over it if we don't do it. Next step is measure out where all the holes are going to go and drill the holes. All right, so on this side, this is the 6 foot 1.5 inches side. We put 7 T-slots or T-nuts in here, so that's 1 every foot. So I'm just going to come in. I got about an 1.5 inches on to spare, so about 3/4 of an inch on each side, and then I'll start marking the 6 foot sections. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in 1 inch here, and then if I mark every foot after that, let's see where that gives me. So that's 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot, 5 foot, and this 6 footer, I'm not going to quite be able to get it in, so I'm just going to come in another inch from the side and put it right where I can see that I'm going to get some T-slot. So that's what that's going to look like. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So 71 is here, hit every foot, and 1 inch is there. So I'm going to copy that to the other side. All right, so on this side is 5 foot long. We have 6 T-slots on this side. So 5 foot is 60 inches. 60 divided by 6 is roughly every 10 inches. So 10 inches. So what we're going to go for. I'm going to have to come in 1.5 inches off the side. So I'm going to come in maybe 2.5 inches here. Start my first one. That'll be a corner. 2.5 inches in. Do the same thing from that side. So make sure. Yep, 2.5. So 2.5 here. So we're symmetric. And then I'll try to go every 10. So here's a 10 incher. 20. 30. 40, 50, and that's 50 inches. All right, so that's the positions there. We'll do the same thing on the back side where you're at. Okay, so I got the positions of all the holes, but we have to inset those a little bit. And if you recall the dimensions of, this 80-20 pieces, this is 1.5 inch slot. So the slot is 3/4 of an inch in. So I'm going to use my square there, and I'm just going to run it along the edge. And we're going to mark them all in 3/4 of an inch in so that I know exactly where to drill. So I'm going to run that thing around, put you out here so you can kind of get a perspective of the whole thing. All right, so I think I got the right drill bit, but might be a little small, so we'll drill a couple of these. I've slid the panel away, so I can plenty of room to drill right through. Again, it's just aluminum sandwich, so should go pretty quick through. So that's my drill bit size right there. So I'm going to go through all of these holes and just kind of get through them all. All right, so the next steps are I am going to peel back some of this plastic from both the top here. I'll show you both hands here. So again, this is a little bit of protective plastic. So I'm just gonna kind of peel it back about that much from the top and the bottom around the wall of edges. All right, so I flipped this over, so you just pull this other side off. This is the side the drill bit came through, and you can see it's a little rough. So I'm just taking kind of this kind of bit, and putting it in there and getting these edges off here. So go through all those holes, get that done. All right, so the next part is to get the screws in. I'm going to use a flat washer just to help with the biting down of that screw when you tighten it down, and kind of spread that force out a little bit. The other thing I've done is I've pre-positioned all of the T-nuts so they line up with the slots, or they line up with the holes. So here's the hole, and here's the T-nut. That way I should be able to reach through the hole and get the T-nut. There's another one, there's another one. So all the way on all four sides, all these holes are lined up. So now I just got to move this board back in place, and all of the nuts should be right under both holes. Because we're kind of going in a little bit blind here. And if you don't have them lined up, and once you get this tightened down, then you won't be able to fish them around. So pre-lined them up, and let's go and look, see if I can get one of these holes in now. So take a look at this corner. So I have two pretty close to each other. Not going to get a lot of forgiveness here on the bending, but I can kind of see, like right there's that T-nut. So get that in spot. Here's this one. Kind of get that one in place. So I'm lined up on both of these right now. So let's see. Should be able to. Yeah, they're lined up. This is the part that takes the longest, and everything else so far has been pretty fast. Okay, so that one has grabbed. No, it hasn't. Oh, it did. Still no good. This is the part that's the most frustrating and I struggle with the most. I think this piece is moved. Yeah, it's just a little bit. So that one's latched. I'm not going to tighten that one all the way down, but I'm going to try to get the one that's really close to it in also, because if these two don't go in at the same time, I won't be able to get them in. They're so close to each other. There we go. All right, so this one is a bit down also. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten these two down, just kind of by hand, just a little bit hand tight right now. Hopefully that sets me up for the win all the way across. So that's what we're going to do next. I'll put you over here, you can watch that process for a couple, but then I will save you the burdens of. All right, let's watch a few more. I did bring All right, so here's another one. So if they're this far apart from the corner, I can have a little bit of lean. I can kind of lift this up and kind of feel around where it's at, but not a lot. So it's good to have them in place. And if you're lucky, like that one grabbed right away. Now you may be wondering if I'm going to put any silicone in here right now. At this point I'm not. So I'm going to go ahead and get all these in, because if I have to pull it all apart, I need to be able to pull it apart and not make a big mess. So my goal is to tighten them all down once, and I won't undo them all the way, but I should be able to take my silicone and squirt it in underneath through there a little bit like that. So that's my goal. All right, sorry about the hum. I had to turn the lights on. It's getting a little bit dark, but got all the bolts in. So all the way around the whole thing. Finally got them in. Some of them were a little more challenging. I do have to trim off this corner, and these corners are very pointy. So I'm gonna just go ahead and take a file to all 4 of these corners and kind of trim them back. This one I'll trim so it's flush. So I'm gonna do that next, and then after that, this top is complete, and it's time to start to unbolt the actual wedge top. So we'll get that going next. I could try to lift the whole wedge top off at once, including the solar panel. I just don't trust myself with that. So I'm just gonna pop this off, and it should be no problem getting this off. It's got 4 bolts on this side, 4 bolts on the other side. I've already taken off the bolts on the other side. Got the kind of cargo mat here, kind of spread it up over there. So when I do pull it off, I got something to set it on here. I don't know if you can pick it up in the video, but it's starting to snow a little bit. Kind of hoping it doesn't pick up too hard, especially once I get the cap off. All right, so I've got all 4 bolts off on both sides. See if I can get this tool out. So this now should be free, if I can. Trying to get some leverage. Got kind of a little bit of a bum shoulder. Can't lift. That one's good. Anyway, I'll slide this a little bit here. I'm about to get up and slide off the other side too. So the solar panel, we ran that earlier this summer. Let's disconnect it. All right, so the next step is to undo these flat panels. So I'm just going to take the top ones off. I've already kind of loosened these bolts. So all 3 of these, those 3, And on this side, I got 3 6 more, and on the other side, I got 6 more. So pop those off, and I'll be back in a second. All right, so we got the top bolts off on these things, so that's loose. But to get those off, those actually are through and through bolts. So there's a head at the top, or each of those bolts has a head. I'm going to put a wrench on there. But to get a wrench on there, I have to get all of this stuff out. So pulling all this stuff out right now, and then I'll be able to get a wrench, and we'll get those off, and then be able to lift this thing off. So that's what we're doing now. And if you remember, this thing is secured here, just with kind of this thing that blocks it down, so you can't just lift it up. So pulling this box out now. Now, to help my son, we got all these bolts out. I had to pop the top just to get up here to get an Allen wrench on the top of those to unscrew them, but all of them did come out. So now, theoretically, this whole top part should be loose. It weighs, I don't know what it weighs a ton. I already can't move it already, but we'll have to figure it out. It seems like it's a little stuck. Duct tape time over the summer. My trip, this was going to make harmonic noises, so we're going to get the duct tape off now, and that'll be what's next, and then I'll see if I can lift that. All right, a little dark, but you can see now there's no roof anymore. Got it off. The thing is a beast. My son almost died. Don't tell my wife, but he did make it. So we got it up on horses here. So anyways, I can work on it during the thing. It's a little dirty. Now we gotta put the top up. So we'll do that next. I'll spin you around. And then what we're gonna have to do is go sidesies. Okay, so let's just leave that corner on the ground. I got that. You take your side over there. Yep, it's gonna go up. Let's not scratch the truck. And you have to keep it above your head and just keep pushing it all the way down. You got her?